All right, here we go. Week 2. Welcome to the Buck and Mike Experience.
Experience sports like you never have before.
Where the buck stops.
And the mic drops.
Bam! All right. What a week. So, tons of stuff happened last week. We, Super Bowl, have to start there. How do you not start there?
Yeah, that was one of the best Super Bowls that has happened in the last several years. Like
Absolutely.
that was exactly what I wanted. It wasn't the 50 game that I was hoping for, but it was still 38-35. I mean, it was.
Oh yeah,
it was right there.
You got tons of offense. You got to see lots of players go on high levels, and it wasn't just offense. We saw a big defensive play by the Chiefs that led to a touchdown.
Yep.
I mean,
Wills Point, Texas zone.
This is true. And to be honest, when he had the second touchdown that was called back, I was about to say, "There's your Super Bowl MVP." Like, how do you not give it to that guy?
Immediately I was like, "Oh yes!" And then I was like, "Oh man, that's not a fumble."
Yeah, no, they called that fumble back, and it was like, man, 2 touchdowns though. That guy, even there, being in the spot to be in that situation works out really good. Dude had a heck of a ball game.
If it wasn't Patrick Mahomes, it was going to be Nick Bolton. Like he
for
was
the
going
Chiefs.
He was going to win. One of them was going to win MVP because other than that, like he was all over the field.
Oh yeah.
Like every time you'd see a play, he was there.
I didn't feel like anything like as good as the scores were. The only player that genuinely his stat line just stood out was Jalen Hurts. And
he had an MVP.
I would say he's one of those rare cases that you can look back and go, someone might have been the most valuable player as a loser.
Yeah.
Like he might have been able to legitimately and I think Travis Kelce said that today too. Like talking to Jason, he was like, I wouldn't have been shocked if they gave it to your quarterback because for everyone who says Jalen Hurts is a system quarterback, that young man stepped on the biggest stage and said, "Oh no, I'm outplaying Patrick Mahomes tonight. Watch me."
Yeah. He outplayed an injured quarterback, and then got injured in the game again.
But you know what? I think the Eagles
I
think the Eagles weren't ready for the game plan of all that running.
I think they were ready for the game plan because it worked in the first half. But whenever they went into halftime and they made all the preparations for the next half, the Eagles' preparation was not the same. They didn't make the adjustments that they needed to.
Yeah.
So whatever Fangio did for them, it didn't go into the second half because they hired Fangio to come in and help them face Mahomes because, Fangio was with Denver. So he had to face Mahomes.
Yeah.
So they hired him to come in and help him out. And that first half looked really good. I mean, they still wasn't getting sacks, but it looked really good. They were doing what they could. And then for some reason, like, the adjustments just went out the door. And the Cardinals were like, "Hey, we like that. You're going to be our head coach."
Yeah, like that was. You see, both Eagles coordinators get jobs. Steichen goes to the Colts. Gannon goes to the Eagles. I mean, you're assuming the Eagles will have to promote within. I don't know.
They already have, I think.
They already made the.
Yeah,
okay,
I think they've already made that decision.
So we ended up with 5 coaching changes across the board. Colts get Steichen. Cards get Gannon. Peyton goes to the Broncos via the trade. That was a first and a second, right? I'm gonna stand.
Yes.
I'm gonna stand that giving up a first and a second for Sean Payton is too much, but
no. Go ahead
and then D'Amico Ryans ends up with the Houston Texans, goes home, place he played for a long time, a city that he loves, and then the Carolina Panthers signed Frank Reich. I think Frank Reich will be a good coach. I don't know that he was 100% the problem in Indy in the first place. So.
Yeah, there was a lot going on.
There's some front office questions. Yeah. I think that them leaving Frank Reich is basically the front office guy proving.
First and third.
Is it first and third?
Yeah.
Still, a first is too much.
Yeah.
I understand we've seen that kind of stuff for coaches, but when you only win 1 Super Bowl with a Hall of Fame quarterback, I have a hard time saying I'm gonna give up first round picks for you.
Yeah.
Especially when your team needs help.
So what I thought was really cool was all the coaches this year that got hired in this cycle.
I've seen this.
They're all tied to at least 2 seasons to Philadelphia.
In Philadelphia,
yeah, like that's pretty crazy.
Peyton was the quarterback coach. Obviously, 2 of them were there now. D'Amico Ryans was there at one point. I mean, that's intense. That everything tied back. You gotta give props. People hate them. Sorry, Cowboy fans. The props to the Eagles organization. Their fan base might be issues, but that organization has been running through and through for a long time now. I mean, heck, even the guy that won the Super Bowl ran the show for a long time in Philadelphia. Yeah. So it's hard to not say.
This year, starting from the Super Bowl, this year was all about Philadelphia. Because it was the former Philadelphia head coach versus Philadelphia two Philadelphia coaches are now head coaches, and then other coaches that got hired in this cycle were tied to Philadelphia. Like it's the craziest sequence I've ever seen.
Yeah, and then you bring in the fact that Philly's is set up pretty well. You assume Hurts is gonna get an extension. They've got some players around them. That team's gonna be good for a little while. They got to fill some holes though. I don't know that they're the same as last year.
I don't think this coming season. I don't think they're going to do as well. And that's basically because of the defense. So they're going to be losing Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, and Brandon Graham. C.J. Gardner-Johnson is a free agent.
Yeah,
they're going to
losing a lot.
James
helps
Bradbury.
They have some draft picks that'll help fill, but they've got to hit on those.
They are losing a bunch. And then even their starting right guard, Samola, he's
free agent.
He's going to be a free agent. So they're losing
and
quite
Jason
a bit.
Kelce is up in the air.
And then Jason Kelce is
don't get me wrong, Jason Kelce had a phenomenal season. He could probably walk out and still play all pro level football, but he's considering it. So and he's being really emotional in a lot of these interviews and talks about the game. I really think we're going to see him walk away.
It's good chance. So with all that happening, and they've got 2 picks, they're going to trade one of them to either get another pick next year in the first round, or they're just going to get a little bit more loaded up into this draft and fill in some of those holes. So the fact that they have 2 of them, I think number 10 is probably going to be one that they end up trading down with. And because even though they have a cornerback that I think that they're going to go for, that some we'll talk about later, but you do have the opportunity to drop down and help rebuild your team.
You'll be able to get more pieces that way, and you're gonna have to start playing the money game, because you are about to play Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts has now in 2 seasons put himself in $45 to $50 million.
Oh yeah.
That's gonna happen. So you're gonna have to pay him, and we've already heard his agent staff come out and say, "Where do you back the truck?" So they're not cutting. He's not cutting him a friendly deal. He said, "I've worked my butt off to get here. Now you're gonna pay me." So that's all gonna have to come into play. But what you're really getting to is what we have with the Chiefs, because you've now got 2 Super Bowls in 3 years.
Yeah,
you've got
and you lost one.
You basically might as well just write them down in the AFC Championship game, like it's them versus insert other opponent. You've got Patrick Mahomes. As long as he's walking on earth, you just need to assume you're a contender.
It is crazy because you said this last week. We're watching his legacy in motion right now.
Oh yeah,
and even Peyton Manning has already said he doesn't have to do anything else. He's already a Hall of Famer.
5 seasons.
He's already
a Hall of Famer. And that's, we're talking, he's 27 years old. He's got 2 MVPs. He's got 2 Super Bowls. He's got 2 Super Bowl MVPs. Mm-hmm. He's done everything the sport can do, except for now he's got to go through and break all the records.
Yep.
Once he goes through, and the way he throws the ball around, he's shattering every record.
The way that the NFL has transitioned and the way that he throws,
exactly. Yeah. He will be our first 100,000 yard passer.
He probably will.
I think when it's all said and done, he's going to
technically Tom Brady is if you throw in playoffs.
Yeah, but I'm talking. I think regular season numbers. He's going to be like.
Oh yeah.
He's going to set a number that we don't ever see again. Because I don't. Yeah. As long as he stays healthy, that's all we've got to be.
He's going to set an Emmitt Smith type of record.
But the other part that we're not even factoring in with this Chiefs team is they're the 7th youngest team in the league last season. Like this was supposed to be a rebuild year. This is supposed to be the year that. We needed to fix the running back position. We needed to work on this. No, instead we're going to have the number 2 ranked offensive line. We're going to draft a young running back. Jerick McKinnon, there's a reason a backup running back was wearing a C on his chest, because he saw pay dirt at the end zone and he said, "No, I'm laying down because we're winning the Super Bowl." And that's what winners do. That's what leaders do. And so that team is set up that Mahomes can keep getting 1-year contract guys like Juju Smith-Schuster.
Excuse me, what's y'all TikTok?
We're not on TikTok. Thank you, though.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Well.
So maybe we should have put the garage door down.
Yeah, hey. Adventures we learned. We almost closed it. But, so, there's going to be a lot of fun, but now we're going to run into all these other guys. We're going to see guys like Derek Carr. Did the right thing. There's no way in heck I'm helping the Raiders if I'm Derek Carr.
No, he did the thing that he should have done.
Yeah, he went, he took meetings. I think he still ends up with the Saints. I think the Saints are the only team that he actually commuting for prior to doing this?
So the only problem that I have with the Saints, like I think it would be a perfect fit, but the problem that I have with it is they don't have cap room. Like cap doesn't exist.
But they're in like super negative.
You can move things around to keep your guys, but what you're going to have to pay him to come in, you can't make that room. Like you won't be able to do that. You're going to have
because
it sucks, but they're going to have to eat like a year or two and just deal with the hole that they put themselves in with all these bad contracts.
Oh yeah,
before they can.
Michael
get
Thomas's contract is an example.
Like he's already like they're already talking about getting rid of him.
Yeah, he's one of the guys I was looking at. Him, a few other big names that they've talked about.
There's so much wrong with that organization, with the GM, with what he did, that every year it's like they're $100 million over the cap and they've got to get under it. And you see all these cuts or all these constant restructures, and I'm like, man, I remember that with the Cowboys. Like eventually. You're going to have it's going to catch up. You're going to have to deal with it.
It's that fight to consistently stay in the hunt.
Yeah.
If you're constantly trying to compete, you're going to have to sacrifice somewhere. And that's kind of like, this year, that's kind of what the Eagles did, is they looked at their situation with a young quarterback on a cheap deal and said, let's go get all these guys. Let's get A.J. Brown. We got to go in while we have it.
Yep.
Because if you can win while your quarterback's cheap, that's going to be the way to go. But, Derek Carr's going to get 35 to 40 million a year.
Yeah.
I mean, there's open market quarterback. He's the best one out there. That's for sure.
Depending on what happens with Aaron Rodgers, because I don't know if he's on his sabbatical yet or if
I think
that's going to be
starts tomorrow, according to the Pat McAfee show.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah. That's pretty accurate because he's friends with
him and Pat are buddy.
So, what happens with Carr, I think, matters with what happens with Rodgers, because I think Rodgers is more connected to the Jets than anyone else is. But I wouldn't be shocked to see Carr go to the Jets if Rodgers makes some kind of decision of possibly retiring, or the trade value for him is too much for them that they don't want to give that up and they just decide to go with Carr. I think Carr to the Jets is the most logical, but the other one that I can see is Tampa Bay.
I was going to say, I have him written down. I have the Saints, Tampa, and the Panthers. I think if you're
Panthers is another one.
If you're Carr, I would want to go get in the division that Brady just left, because there's not a dominant team in that division.
That is true. That is true.
He could step into that division. He gets it away from the Mahomeses. He gets away from all those guys. The only way that I would want to go to the AFC is if I just knew that I wanted the Raiders. Like, if he just has some vendetta to go after the Raiders, cool. Go to the AFC, get your chance at them.
Yeah.
But if you have the Saints, the Panthers, the Bucks, even with all the cap trouble the Saints have, because that division is so question mark, the Saints can be a contender just if they get the right budget guys to play good. The Panthers have a young core of guys that a true quarterback stepping in could make a big difference there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the Bucks, they're going to have some shuffling and moves and things like that, but they're going to play to compete. That's what they're trying to do.
And the good thing about if you go to the Bucks is you can go to the Bucks and then they can still use that first round draft pick on someone like Anthony Richardson that can sit there and just sit behind Derek Carr, and wait.
I don't know.
Just a year or two,
if you're
because he's not ready.
No, but if you're going to pay Derek Carr $35 to $40 million, he's going to get about a 4-year deal. He's only 32.
Well, you can still do it. The Packers did it with Jordan Love. This is what?
Yeah, but
about
you drafted
season.
Jordan Love behind Aaron Rodgers, thinking Aaron Rodgers was on the way out, because Rodgers' play had been heavily climbing multiple years in a row. Carr is only 1 year removed from having a 69% completion percentage and 4,800 yards.
I think you're a little bit more of a fan of him.
I am. I won't actually not.
I don't actually believe that. I do think that playing with someone like Tampa Bay is going to help him out, but at a certain point, no matter how long you have him on your roster, once you feel like Richardson is ready, if you
then
draft
you have to move on for him.
Then
exactly.
You can go, all right, look, we're moving on from him because we got the next guy.
I think though that if you go to the Bucs situation, there's rumor. I've heard Mike Evans' name is a cap casualty guy, but you still have a Godwin. You still have some other guys like that. I don't know if you let go of Mike Evans. I don't think I let go of a high-level performer like Mike Evans, but I heard his name.
He's not going down at all.
Exactly. He's still, he's been the picture of consistency. And so if you go to a team like the Bucs, you step in day one and you would assume you have good weapons.
You got really
your
good
offense around you is good to go. You have a young offensive line for the most part. You had Wills. You got guys there. That the defense is what's gonna be a question there because that defense was older.
Oh, no. Wills is with the Browns. Worse.
Yeah. Their defense was the question. Their defense was older.
Yeah.
Levante David's a free agent, and that's a leader in that men in that team right there. That's a big piece. So that's gonna be a question. The Panthers is a situation with a very young defense that you have DJ Moore. They might have found something in that running back committee that worked out really strongly for them.
Yep.
I mean, that team could be a piece where you could plug a veteran quarterback in and let the youth grow
and not only that, but
now.
Again, they have a young offensive line that
they've been putting into.
They've been building, and then you add Frank Reich to that. Frank Reich is from Philadelphia, where they are built all around building in the trenches. So
exactly.
If you get your quarterback, now you can use your pick to go for offensive linemen and build that offensive line even more.
Oh yeah, for
sure. Because I'm not going to say that that's what they would do because obviously when he was with the Colts, it's not really what they did. So
no, but it could get. I mean, it just gets interesting.
But they also
I like the idea. I think for some reason he ends up with the Saints. I think they find a way to do that. But I like the idea of ending up with the Panthers because you're putting a veteran on a team with a bunch of young guys, and that is a defense that's a better defense already than he's had any time that he was with Oakland or with Vegas now. He was Oakland for most of it. Technically, he was on both.
For 90%.
But it's the same situation though. If he stepped onto the Jets, the thing is I don't know that. I guess when I'm thinking of my free agent decision, I'm factoring in, and I don't run from competition, but I also want to make sure that I make the smartest decision for for the competition to help me be successful.
Right.
Being in the NFC right now, Derek Carr might be one of the 7 best quarterbacks. I mean, every good quarterback's in the AFC right now.
I mean, that is true.
And so I don't blame him if he goes, well, I'm going to go to the NFC and the South, where last year's winner was 7-9. Like, I mean, he's good at 7-9. Like, we've seen him go 9-7 plenty of times. And so, then now we've talked about some of these draft picks, and you dropped your mock today.
I did.
So, I wrote down some of it. You want to go through a little bit of hit the top 10, obviously local flavors and stuff like that? Obviously, I like your first thing. You're making the Bears move out of the pick. You didn't trade who I knew you'd been talking about.
So, and that might be something that I do later on, but I basically went with what everyone is doing with the Colts trading up. I don't know if the Panthers are going to be willing to give up that much to move up, considering like they're still rebuilding. So, like until I hear a little bit more about it, I don't think they will. Even though I feel like it would be kind of
here's my question:
a Trump move.
The Colts kept their GM, fired their coach. The whole time this guy's been in charge, he's been the guy bringing in 1-year guys. He's been slapping in Band-Aids constantly while Frank Reich was the coach. Do you think that means it was Frank Reich that was saying, I want veterans? Or do you think that the GM was saying, I think my team's a contender, we don't have time to do a rookie?
I think it might have been a little bit of both just because the team was there. Like, they had a really good team.
Oh, they were the fourth best odds to make the Super Bowl last year out of the AFC
so
preseason.
I do think that a little bit of it was that Reich was just more of the, hey, let me go ahead and give me a veteran guy that can take this shit because we're right here. I think now it's going to be different because they know that they're kind of starting over because they already tried to do it with Wentz and with Matt Ryan, and I think a lot of it just had to do with the fact that when Andrew Luck retired, it just kind of shocked them. Because when Frank Reich took that job, it was to be the coach with Andrew Luck as his quarterback.
I was going to say, kind of like if I'm Derek Carr, I go to a team that's already ready to compete.
Yeah.
If I'm a coach and you tell me I can take over Andrew Luck, I'm signing the dotted line. Yeah. I'm taking pay cuts.
I do think that there was probably a little bit of panic with after that
first couple of years.
So, and they never really kind of settled down because they just couldn't get it together.
Then they kept feeling like the team is so good. Let's throw this dice at it. So
yeah.
I'll say this. I think the guy of all the quarterbacks they hustled through that didn't get the fairest shake, it might have been Brissett because you gave him 1 year to be your guy, and then you fast forward 4 years later, and Brissett was the better quarterback in a brown uniform from the time that till Watson came back, and now Watson was rusty. We know that, but you wonder is if Brissett would have been given a fair opportunity to play quarterback like he got in Cleveland, where they let him throw the ball around and they let him do all that, would the Colts situation be different right now?
I don't know, mainly because I know he is just a Band-Aid. Like he was,
he's definitely still. He wasn't going to be your long term, but he never.
They felt like Wentz, who had an MVP caliber season, that the guy that helped him do that could bring it back. Gotcha. So I feel like that was more of what it was. So they were like, look, Brissett, you did fine, but like he made this guy look good. He's going to do it again. And so that move, I think that was Frank Reich doing that move. I think that was him. When it failed, I think the GM took over and was like, we're going to go for Matt Ryan. I think that was the GM more than it was him.
Yeah. So then,
Brissett was the better quarterback just because at that point Matt Ryan was not good anymore, and then Wentz was just always injured and just he lost everything.
So with that pick though, they make the trade and they get Bryce Young. Right now, everyone's kind of got him as consensus number one quarterback. Hard not to.
It's tough just because a lot of people want to knock him for the size, and you have to look at his size. Under 200 pounds.
The weight is the bigger question. Yeah. We're seeing a lot of small quarterbacks be successful now.
The height's all right.
The weight's going to be the question.
Weight under 200 pounds.
How is he just taking a hit? Because he's taking hits at Alabama, but he ain't taking a hit like he's going to take playing for the Colts.
Right.
That O-line wasn't very good this year.
It wasn't.
So the next pick is the Texans. They stay whole. They're obviously going to stay. They're taking C.J. Stroud. No issues there. You got to get a quarterback. The Cardinals are the first team people don't see going quarterback. This one I thought was interesting because you have them Anderson over Carter.
Yeah, and a lot of that is so over the last couple of years. You like to know?
This is interesting. Wonder why the lights turned off. Video's recording still. It might be a little darker. We'll be okay.
So over the last couple of years, the Cardinals have drafted a few edge rushers that just, especially last year, they got two of them in the draft in the 3rd and 4th round. And without J.J. Watt and without now retiring and Zach Allen is heading to free agency, all 4 of their edges have a total of 9.5 sacks combined.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
So I felt that maybe getting a better edge rusher would be a better piece than adding Jalen Carter, even though I don't think either one is wrong. Like, if they went with Jalen Carter, I wouldn't be like, oh, that's bad. I think it would be perfect.
Especially with going with a defensive coach. I like the idea of them going defensive coach. Let's address their defensive needs. And with all the drama that we all know is what Kyler Murray brings.
Yeah.
You would assume their goal is going to be, let's get us an OC who his one job is Kyler. Like, make Kyler the most important person in the room. And that might be what he needs to unlock step forward to open up that defense in a division that last year would have said is crazy locked one way. Now you're sitting here going, well, we don't really know what the 49ers are going to have at quarterback, so that's going to bring them back to the pack. Seattle, is Geno the guy? They're going to pay him like he is, but is he the guy? The Rams, do the Rams flip a switch and turn it all back around? Probably not, because they put themselves in...
They don't have any first-round draft picks until 2027.
Yeah, they wore that slogan that said, fuck them picks.
Yeah.
And, now they don't have no way to replace those players.
Yeah,
it worked for one Super Bowl, so I guess that works, but it doesn't help. So that'll be interesting. Then the Bears stay 4. They take Jalen Carter, the D lineman out of Georgia, which makes sense. They need defensive help. They don't need a quarterback. Honestly, wouldn't be stunned if they traded back to 4 and then they turned around and said somebody want 4.
Yeah.
And let someone come up and go after a guy like a Will Levis or even if someone wants Jalen Carter that much.
Yeah.
With that being said, if the Bears stay, I see you put Seattle. That's the pick they have from the Denver trade.
Yes.
Tyree Wilson, the edge rush out of Texas Tech. That's another team that if the Bears stay and pick Carter to get the elite level player, I wouldn't be shocked if you see that pick in the trade.
So, this one I actually had a trade here, and then I went ahead and changed it back and just left it alone.
Yeah.
So I think Tyree Wilson does actually fit the Seahawks defense with Poona Ford going to free agency, so they're going to have a guy that they'll need to take over on that 3 technique. But he's also at the size where if you need him to play an like on the outside edge, you could also just have a 275-pound massive man coming in.
Come at me, bro.
So like you don't have to have him on the line, but he can play that, and I think it would still fit. But I think you would want Jalen Carter more than you would want him, and this is to me this is one of the picks that will like be traded, because there is a difference in them. Carter and
skill set level
and Will Anderson, and then there's like a skill drop. It's not, and then it's just Tyree Wilson, and then after that there's another skill drop.
Yeah. There's a lot of quarterbacks, and then there's a lot of space. There's not a lot of top end talent. They're saying from a lot of these guys, from what I've read. And then you get to the Lions picking 6. They're taking the pick over that they got from the Rams. That's Witherspoon, the corner
Out of Illinois. He's so. It's what I looked up on him was actually pretty crazy. He was a 0-star recruit.
Nice, I love those guys.
And he had to fight and claw for every single thing that he's got. So the fact that he was just undersized, 0 stars, and now he's allowing only 34% completion rate to quarterbacks. He's a 25.3 passer rating. And he's got 3 interceptions and 14 pass breakups. And he also allowed 0 touchdowns this year.
Sauce Gardner action last year.
He is actually Sauce Gardner did it for his entire career.
This is true. Sauce did it for all of
But
college.
there is, and I am kind of worried about that a cornerback here is too high also. Like any cornerback, I think is a little too high right here. But it's a very big position to need. And with Jalen Carter and Tyree Wilson off the board, both of those would fit perfectly here. With that being gone, I think they would take that next thing that they need.
I would say that, and I feel like the Lions did a really good job last year addressing the front. I think they got lucky on a hit with a guy in Charles.
He's
out the edge on the other.
He's an edge.
Yeah, but then you had Aiden Hutchinson, who absolutely balled out and should have been Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Still salty. It wasn't Sauce. They did a pretty good job building up the front, and so secondary needs are definitely going to be probably a focal adjustment.
Especially because Okudah is just not. He's not living up to where
he's not, and especially not as the number 1 guy. Like maybe you get someone else that comes in can take the number 1 guy, and Okudah can be the number 2,
push him over,
and maybe he becomes more like a loudmouth Eli Apple. The quiet version of Eli Apple, who occasionally Eli Apple goes out and has a good game. He's so loud we don't acknowledge him. All right, then the Raiders, they get Skoranek. That's the guy that plays tackle, but you have him down as a guard, correct? Okay, that's out of Northwestern.
And that's just because his arm length is going to be under the threshold of 34 inches. That's typically what teams look at, is it has to be 34 inches. There are players.
We're talking about the length of their arm.
Yeah.
So when the player is extending and doing his blocks, they're going to measure these guys just like this. If you're short-armed, they want you on the inside because you don't have to have as much extension to push, to help explain that to some of the people out there.
So the threshold is 34 inches, but when I looked around at some of the starting tackles, a lot of them are around the 33 and a half and up. So it's not just 34. But the problem is that he's going to be 32 inches. He might be 32 and a half, but it's going to be 32.
Okay.
And that's going to force him inside.
Exactly.
And the Raiders actually, a guy that was playing right tackle for them did actually pretty well, but he's going to be a free agent. But they also have another guy that they drafted in Thayer Munford, who played a little inside, did pretty well. So they could actually kick him out and let him play right tackle, and then Skoronski goes right inside, and now you got an all-pro guard.
Now the Raiders are a team. People have whispered to quarterbacks. That's Garoppolo. That's guys that's obviously because of Derek Carr, who we've talked about, is leaving. You say you don't think they go draft quarterback. I don't think they draft quarterback.
At this point right now, just because of everything that I've heard of what they're looking for, I don't think that they're going to go quarterback. But once free agency gets here, obviously I'll change my tune because I'll go, they didn't get anyone.
Interesting seeing what they have with Garoppolo, but at the same time, I like I've said before, I think that Josh McDaniel is strong-headed and proud, and I think Josh McDaniel thinks that his guy is Jarrett Stidham. And if he doesn't get Jimmy Garoppolo, I think he's willing to run out Jarrett Stidham and go, Jarrett Stidham was really good at Baylor and Auburn, and I'm going to make him the guy in the NFL. and I don't like Josh McDaniels, so sadly that means I hope they fail Jarrett Stidham. So, but that would be interesting. All right, then you get to the Panthers, who we've talked about them as a team with Carr, but here you have them picking
Falcons.
Levis. Oh, Falcons. Sorry, I skipped the Falcons. Miles Murphy pick. Miles Murphy, yeah, went over them. So then you go to Miles Murphy, the D lineman for Clemson. The Falcons have a lot of. They're actually in rumored talks for Lamar to try to as a whisper team that wants to go for a trade there.
Yeah, I have heard that, and I mean it does make sense.
It does,
but
which it's another team in the NFC South. That division is open.
Yeah,
you can get there.
It is, and you know, if you don't want to stay with Desmond Ridder, that's it's totally understandable.
And it makes sense because you didn't spend much on Ridder if he isn't like he was a middle round.
Yeah,
pick.
He was third round.
Yeah, middle round pick. He wasn't anything special. He did look better each week though, and he brought more out of Drake London that you got the last of the season. You haven't seen Ridder play with Kyle Pitts, and you hope that the offense learns how to use Kyle Pitts, the fantasy bust of the year.
Yeah.
But their defense needs help, so I wouldn't touch. It'd be interesting to see how they do it.
So they were dead last in sack percentage at 3.6.
That's really bad.
Yeah,
that's really bad.
And,
no pressure.
And then second to last in creating pressure at 22%. So they
should just throw a dart at everyone who might hit a quarterback.
That's what they did last year at linebacker. Like they drafted 3 guys to play linebackers last year in the second, third, and fourth round. So they loaded up doing that. So now they need to address the defensive line because all they got is Grady Jarrett, who's maybe 34, 35 years old now.
Yeah.
He's getting older, and you still
forever.
don't have anyone on your defensive line except for him. Like, so to me, that needs to be addressed. Murphy here, I've heard different things of him being a little bit higher. I've heard people that I trust have had him lower, but for what they need on their defense, like I felt like it's just a perfect fit.
All right, now we go to same division, Carolina Panthers. We've talked about them going after a guy, and you have him down Will Levis here.
Yeah, so Will Levis, to me, a lot of people are they don't know how to evaluate him.
Combine will be fun.
Combine is going to make or break him because he skipped the Senior Bowl. So I hated that he skipped the Senior Bowl because I would have liked to see him actually play with some good players and not the crappy players that he had to deal with this year. But with everything they had to deal with, getting injured, a terrible OC that got fired in his first season mid-season, your only good receiver got drafted last year, your 2 best linemen got drafted last year, so you actually played with a Kentucky team and not anyone good. It was a Kentucky
one of those
team.
built-up Kentucky team that had a good run there.
So he had a very bad stick this year and didn't produce.
I think that'll be a good tell of what you see how Frank Wright wants to go. Frank Wright wants to have a guy that he can mold, manipulate, and put around with a bunch of young guys. I guess, though, if they go after a guy like Will Levis, then you'd have to think they have to spend to get a veteran somewhere. Because if they want to take the step towards winning, you've got to get a veteran on that team. That team is, they've got a couple guys, but
certain
they're
positions,
so young that at some point, as good as it is to be young, being too young can be a problem.
Let me look at their roster real quick.
And so
they do have. Because Brian Burns is basically your.
Burns is your veteran at 27?
Yeah.
And you're going to have to pay him if you want him to stay.
Taylor Martin is your right tackle. He's been there. He's an all-pro right tackle. He's been there for quite a while.
Okay, I feel like you still probably want to get another voice in the room. That's going to help that next step in developing a young team. Because they were in every game last year. They were a team that was, with lacking talent at the quarterback position like they were, they stayed close and they battled through. That was why a lot of people wanted him to keep the guy that was the interim, because they were rallying the troops really well.
Yeah, he did a good job.
All right, so then we get down to your spoil of riches Eagles sitting here with the 9th pick in the draft after going to the Super Bowl. And I gotta be honest, I've never heard of this guy. I've looked at a few mocks and I have not heard this name. Christian Gonzalez.
You haven't?
I've not seen his
name.
name.
Oh man, a lot of people have him as the CB1.
Really? Okay.
And instead of Devin Witherspoon.
Okay. So
So he's actually a transfer, and he was at Colorado. Did not have good years in Colorado. It was not good. but he transferred to Oregon and ended up having a really good season with Oregon that boosted his stock enough where everyone that was watching him was like, this guy is good. Like he finally hit whatever he needed, and it took him to the next level.
Heck, he could have, being as bad as like Colorado is, he might have actually played kind of good.
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
And the problem
so Prime got there, baby.
There you go,
Coach Prime.
The problem that he has is he just doesn't have a mean streak. He's kind of he's a little passive.
He's Trayvon Diggs. He runs from contact.
Kinda, yeah. He's not like Devin Witherspoon. The reason why I don't have Gonzalez first is because Devin Witherspoon has that dog in him, and Dan Campbell is going to want that dog in him. So yes. Gonzalez just not
Dan
make
Campbell,
sense for him.
The
like
Campbell
he's going to want dogs, and Gonzalez is not that. So I was like, I can't put him there because it doesn't make any sense because he's so passive.
I would run through a wall for Dan Campbell.
So I think that, and with the Eagles, he's going to end up being the cornerback too because you got Slay on the other side. So this would be a good complement to what Slay is. And you won't need him to be
and you need to get
aggressive.
You need to get a young guy at that position because you are
because Bradbury's gone.
Bradbury's going to go.
Bradbury
and Bradbury's going to get paid by someone. Whether
I don't
even
though
he got that question. I mean, you got to call him. He did.
I think they called him out for exactly what happened. Not that play, but the fact that he was only good because his defensive line was good. Like he wasn't bad in New York. Like he wasn't bad in New York.
No,
but he's not an all-pro cornerback.
No, he's gonna see an $8 to $10 million deal. Someone's gonna pay him.
He's older too.
He's 31, something like that.
Oh, is it? Oh,
yeah, he's 31. So someone will pay him a couple of million because
he'll get 7 or 8, I think.
And then he'll get cut halfway through that deal, but he'll get the front money, and that's what he's gonna want at this point because he's had that. All right, then we'll get a couple of the local guys because that gets us through the top 10 there. Obviously for you Cowboy fans, obviously the Dolphins no pick. We cheated for nothing and didn't even get a pick. 26, you have Dallas. Is that Deontay Banks? Corner out of Maryland.
Yep.
Okay.
So, funny enough, I was watching a video after I had already submitted this morning, and then Todd McShay comes out with his mock. And there was PFF came out with one, and both of them had a cornerback there. Wait, no.
Mock time, just so it's good. They're about to start ramping.
Maybe McShay had a tight end. McShay had a tight end. He had Darnell Washington, but PFF had a
I see no logic in that.
So I do. I had a tight end there.
I don't know.
But
I think they got a lot out of Ferguson and the other kid.
They're okay.
But
they're okay.
I think they're good enough that you don't have to go with that in the first round.
I don't know about that. I think the tight end class in this class is good enough to where if you need a tight end, this is where you take it.
Okay. And it's a late.
This is what everyone like. Even the guy that I basically the reason why I do this is Dane Brugler. Even he talks about how normally you only have maybe one tight end, in your top 30. He's got 4 in his top 30, and so. That's why, like in my mock, I only have 1 tight end in the first. But at one point, I had 3 of them in there, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I got to rework this.
I really want to say 3 tight ends go in the first round.
Yeah, exactly. That was what was in my head. But with Deontay Banks, I was listening to, actually, it was Micah Parsons. So someone sent a video to me, and it was Micah Parsons talking about what they needed, and he said, we don't need more edge rushers. I had an edge rusher at the time. And he said, we don't need more edge rushers. And I was like, all right. And he started talking about, we need a big body cornerback. And I was like, why do you need a big body cornerback? You have Deron Bland, who's going to be good next year. And he showed a lot this year. And then I looked it up and I realized Deron Bland was playing slot. Like he played outside for 2 games when Brown was hurt and Boss Man Fat was terrible. So he went over and he played for 2 games. And it was Kelvin Joseph.
Yeah.
Okay. And he did well. So that was in my mind was he's going to be that new outside corner, but he's not. He's going to be inside the slot.
Where he's been playing.
Where he should be because he's really good there. But Deontay Banks is the perfect opposite. The perfect complement to Trevon Diggs,
Plays
who
the
doesn't
tackle.
like to tackle.
Yeah.
Because Deontay Banks has only missed one tackle in his career. He likes to tackle.
Yes. Richard
Okay, he's
Sherman
a
was
6'2",
like that.
205-pound cornerback. He doesn't have like a whole bunch of speed, but he likes to tackle, and he's very good at covering corners. He's not a jump and try to pick off everything. He's very
I
conservative.
feel like you're describing
But
Richard Sherman right now.
Like he reminds me a little bit of when we had Byron Jones. Like
Okay.
when Byron Jones was with the Cowboys, he was good.
Yeah.
Like before he went to your team, like he
We
was actually pretty
doesn't
good.
play.
So like he reminds me a little bit of that style. Like he doesn't have a lot of picks, but man, he will cover you and make sure you don't get catches. So that's what I like about
That's
him, and you can have that on the other side of the guy that's trying to pick you off every time. I think that's
You're going to be
perfect.
forced to go
Like-
one or the other way.
Like you're
that's good.
you're in a good combination.
The only thing you wish is that the guy that was going for the ball did tackle more, because when you go for the ball, you do give up catches, and you want him to tackle the guy
Yeah,
when you don't.
yeah.
But hey,
Yeah.
at least he makes plays when he does.
Yeah.
Then the other pick that you have in here, this is my favorite pick, and also a local tie for us. For the ones who watch locally, we're here in Texas, so local ties for the Dallas Metroplex. Jackson Smith, Rockwall's own. 29th, the Saints, going with his former college teammate Olave, and if he ends up with Carr, it's a nice little setup right there, because Olave and Garrett Wilson, this year's Rookie of the Year, both have already on record said, we are both first-round receivers, and Jackson's better than both of us. I don't think Jackson gets picked on 29th, because I think, and I've said it, the Combine's going to come, and Jackson's going to show people, hey boys,
gonna go up.
I'm top 10, don't forget me.
So
Because all he's done is got healthy.
there was a couple picks that I did, and it was kind of based more on that fact. It was like, look, I know once we get to the Combine that they're going to go up, but I need to see it first. Like let me see it at the Combine. Like Jackson Smith and Jigba is one of them that I know at the Combine is going to improve his stock, but I have to see it first because we haven't seen him.
We need to see that he's healthy.
Yeah.
We need the scouts.
The other one is Anthony Richardson. He's got his footwork is so bad that I can't, for the life of me, put him in the top 10 like everyone else is. I can't.
And they're putting him in on physical gifts.
Yeah.
They're doing him like
and
Mahomes
a high upside. They're like, look what he can do. He could do this.
He could do this.
But you got to work on that footwork. If we already know how bad his footwork is, and you go into the Combine and you still look bad because you didn't work on your footwork, then to me, you're going to see a lot of people start dropping him.
Yeah.
And that, to me, I think is the correct thing to do. So even at where I got him at Tampa Bay at 19, I still feel like it's a bit high because of just the fact that I know he's not starting this year or
He's not going to be playing.
He's not going to play
quarterback
his
for a
rookie
team
year
this year.
unless the quarterback gets hurt and he has to step in. Like that's the only reason why I see it. Like I feel like he's getting the Malik Willis treatment, and just because he's that big booming arm with athleticism, and there's some talent there. Like the only difference between them is
Richardson played better college competition.
Richardson faced better competition.
That's going to be a big impact.
So that's why
also
I
a
feel
lot of
like
people
he's
are
still
talking
got
about
that
the kid from
more
Tennessee
potential.
Is if he's healthy,
And Hooker.
he can get healthy.
So Hooker will be good mid to late second round, maybe third. And I say that
Age
just
plays
because
into his
he's
too.
tore his ACL and he's 24 years old.
Okay, he's already exactly.
So he's
So,
kind of reached his, in a way, he's almost reached his potential.
We'll see a lot. A lot of it's going to come down to the scouting, the recruiting, all that fun stuff's going to go on. And real quick, I need to drop a plug in real quick with the scouting and the recruiting talks we have going on. As some of y'all don't know, so he knows, I've started looking at new jobs, and thanks to my buddy Stephen Farmer and S&K Consulting, he helped me in huge ways get my resume written up, get all the study interviews, all that fun stuff lined up. If y'all have any questions, Steven's the guy. He's going to hit you up. He's going to do it. Thanks to him, I actually accepted a new position this week, and I will be going into the corporate world. Nice raise, benefits. I've never had such a grown-up job in my life.
Yeah.
And so definitely hit up my guy. Here's his logo. Stephen Farmer, thank you for all your help for me. We're going to shout him out here throughout the weeks as we do these shows because he's been a big part. He's helping, let us better ourselves in other ways besides our show. So I wanted to drop that in there. And then get into some other little fun details and nuggets because after
one more
what's
little
that?
factoid on the draft. Bijan Robinson, I have him going to Minnesota.
Oh, I forgot. That's another local one.
And that's just because there's been some rumors flying around about Dalvin Cook maybe being a cut, because I mean he's already having another surgery on his shoulder.
See, so I thought my understanding was he never had surgery on the shoulder.
Well, no. He's had other injuries.
Yeah,
I'm just saying he's now having surgery on his shoulder.
On that shoulder.
So like it's just
Bijan would be a good add there. That's a guy you add in that allows you to stay competitive, and it's another way to make sure that you're not over focused on Justin Jefferson
to Dalvin Cook and then to Bijan Robinson.
That is an organization that's got to focus, and they're not breaking it. So
all right,
then we get into.
Oh, hey, so your Super Bowl bingo.
I did. I forgot. My wife is going to yell at me for this.
Let's jump back into Super Bowl.
Back to the Super Bowl. For the people who watched it, we all go to Super Bowl parties. I didn't host a party or anything, but I had some friends over, and most of them are people that don't watch football like I do. I sit back, much like my partner here does. We watch a football game, and we're looking at the way certain players are doing certain things, how their positions are being played, how they're doing these things. Whereas there's people, and you've all got a wife or even a boyfriend, maybe your husband who doesn't watch, who is going to ask 50 questions when they watch the game. You want to teach them how to watch and understand football. You turn it into a bingo. Super Bowl bingo was the most fun I think you're going to get, because you had things on here that made you watch the whole game. Was there a trick play? Was there a commercial by Pepsi? Was there an interception? Was there a fair catch? Did you know there wasn't a fair catch in the whole Super Bowl? Not one fair catch.
There was only like 3 punts, wasn't
There
there?
were 5 punts, and either 2 of them went on bounced out of or touchdown, or bounced out of bounds and were touchback or whatever, and the other 3 were all returned.
Huh.
You look at a bingo card as a football fan, you go, fair catch, I can mark that off. That's gonna happen. Nope, we never had that. You have safeties, you had that, and so when we had fun things like. There were plays where on here it says a wide receiver catches a pass one-handed while diving. Well, all 3 of those happened in one play. Man,
nice.
Guy in the living room starts screaming and yelling like he just won the Super Bowl because he hits all 3 of them. So there you go. If you need a way to make football more fun, I'm literally thinking about next year when I have Red Zone on, having a little bingo card while I watch my Red Zone fantasy games just to go, I wonder if I can get a bingo today. Because now I owe my best friend's buddy dinner. Because she won bingo, and I told her if she played, she got a prize. So after softball, Izzy, you get Raising Cane's. So last week, we jumped into a lot of the NBA talk because it was pre-deadline. What a wild storm that NBA trade deadline was. I think we saw like 15 trades happen, but the one that caught everyone off guard is literally the night after we posted our show, we went to bed, we woke up the next morning, and freaking Kevin Durant gets traded.
Yeah.
And if you're a Mavs fan, you're hyped. You're on cloud 9. We've got a second superstar to go next to Luka. Things are great. Turn around, and the Suns were like, hold on.
We're going to one-up you here.
We're going to go and get... And apparently they were trying to get both Durant and Kyrie. That was their offer.
I think it was Kyrie at first. And then once Kyrie went to Dallas, they were like, all right, well, we're just going to go all in on Durant.
And they did. And they gave up some good players. Bridges, Johnson, 4 first-round picks. I mean, those are going to probably be later picks depending on how things go. But we got that. Breaking news? Or
not really breaking news, but Rex Ryan is the top candidate for Broncos' DC job.
What? They're talking about bringing in the veteran old guy staff now.
Yeah.
But that'll be interesting. Rex Ryan's a fun guy.
Yeah.
But the Durant trade changes things. It makes the Suns legit relevant. It takes pressure off of Devin Booker to score. It puts.
Oh yeah.
And it takes a little more off Chris Paul. I think if anyone's in the league is thirsty for a championship, it's Chris Paul. But I will no longer root for you because I hate Kevin Durant.
Well, I can't root for him anyway because I'm a Mavericks fan, and there's that little rivalry between him and Luka. So.
There is that, and then on the topic of Durant, a Texas football or basketball player. Just before we started showing today, another instance of a guy getting fired before charges were convicted were down. Chris Beard's charges were all dropped. And the University of Texas fired him, former Tech and Texas Tech
They
head
were
coach.
all officially dropped?
All dropped.
Oh,
it's officially the headline. DA drops all charges against Chris Beard. Chris Beard is now the hottest coaching candidate in college basketball. Let's just make that clear.
Goodness.
Because Chris Beard knows his stuff. That guy can recruit. Texas is a top 10 team in the nation right now. It isn't because the guy that took over for Chris Beard. This is why, and I got in a Facebook debate over this, this is why you don't fire this guy until due process.
Well, I
until
mean,
you know
so
what's
they suspended him for a while before
they suspended him for a while, and
him.
then they came out and they were like, "Okay, he's fired." Here it is, headline on ESPN. DA drops all. You can't just jump and fire. Maybe if he's like a fringe coach, but this dude has proven with what he did at Texas Tech, guns up, baby, that he is a top tier coach, and he could have been one of those guys that goes and runs your program for years. Tennessee did a very similar situation with Bruce Pearl years ago when they had issues there. They let Bruce Pearl go. And now, Tennessee's got a better team now, but you sure wish they didn't get rid of him when he's over there at Auburn, making Auburn a contender every year when you let go of these great coaches. And so I haven't gotten to read much into it, but all charges have been dropped. So that's another little Texas tie.
Okay, so yeah, I'm reading the article right now, and it's because his fiance decided that she wasn't going to press charges, and then after review of the evidence, there was not enough to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that there was strangulation or suffocation. Yeah. So it looks more or less like they just couldn't prove anything.
Yeah,
but
she
hey,
can't be too upset because it's innocent. And she can't be too upset because she's still his fiance. Yeah. You notice these articles never change to ex-fiance.
Yeah.
So clearly there's that. So then you get back to we're still on basketball. It's All-Star weekend. We got games going tonight. I think the Mavs had a late tip-off. I think Durant finally had his debut tonight or last night. I don't know if he's actually played for the Suns.
And then Kyrie's out tonight.
Kyrie was out tonight. Some back stiffness. Three-point contest is always fun now. You've got Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum, Kevin Herrera from the Kings, Tyler Hero from the Heat, Tyrese Halliburton. I've not ever thought him as a shooter as much. Great passer, but Buddy Hield and then Sims out of Portland. That'll be a good group. I think Dame's the most proven shooter of them all. But that guy hardly ever wins, the proven guy. We're at 1 hour.
I mean, it's Dame time.
Oh, are you saying Dame time? I thought you were saying time showtime. I was about to say. But you know what? His shoot style is a lot off the dribble. He's not very... His turn, rotation. I think you see a guy like Tyler Hero make a shot here. Tyler Hero's won one of these in college.
He's got
He's a very good pocket, quick release kind of guy. He'd be a fun one. The dunk contest continues to be, let's get as lesser named as we can get.
So Rappaport just confirmed that Rex Ryan is the top guy to get it.
It's going to be interesting. Now we're rating the ESPN cabinet. All right.
Yeah.
So the dunk contest, though, you get back to the who's who of guys that got drafted this year or have been muttering the league. Probably the biggest name might be Matt McClung, who's actually not, I think, until today on an NBA roster. He's actually been in the G League.
Yeah, I remember actually seeing an article the other day talking about how it's. He said it's the NBA Pro is humbling. It makes you feel a little bit more humble.
It is, and McClung was him and Zion came out same class, and he is. If you've never seen Matt McClung play, he is as freakishly athletic as Zion is. He's just not Zion. Zion is a mass. But Mac was a big part of Texas Tech's success, getting to the finals a couple times. And he was a big name recruit. He went to Georgetown for a little bit. That kid is 6'1", I think, and a little white boy that can fly. Then you've got KJ Martin, Kenyon Martin's son. He'll be an interesting name. You know, I'm not sure how athletic he's going to be, but then the other guys, just a couple of rookies, Jericho Sims, Trey Murphy. Hopefully it's fun, and I'm going to root for Mac because guns up, baby. There's our top.
I lied about McShay. McShay took Osiris Torrance, the guard out of Florida. So, I apologize.
Oh, it's okay. There's so many of those mocks. It's going to be a mock season. We're going to have. We'll get to talk mocks.
And the fact that I do it for a mock draft based company called the Huddle Report,
which is true. Which if you get on our Facebook page, we have shared the link to his mock draft on the Huddle Report. So
and last year I had the 23rd. I can't even.
Was this?
There we go. 23. I don't know if that says 32 or 23, but I was the 23rd most accurate last year. The year before, I wasn't actually with them.
24.
Yeah. Actually, the year before, I wasn't with them, but I was. When I did my own and graded it, I ended up being the 6th most accurate. Like, I have a history of being pretty good at this, so it's not just random stuff. Like, I go into a lot of detail on on why I do certain things, and obviously it changes throughout. But yeah, we'll jump back into basketball again. That just,
we're gonna get all over the place. Hey, so that's really not gonna be much more in the NBA this week. We're gonna we'll get the All-Star break. We'll see how things go, and we'll start going down the stretch run coming forward. Now it's time for the fire-up season, though, of my one love. It's not my one love, but it's my favorite on the sport you're going to play. Major League Baseball kicks off soon. Players are reporting World Baseball Classic back first time in 6 years because of COVID. New rules came out. My God, man, Rob Manfred, can you just go away now? Because you just keep liking to change my sport. It drives me nuts. We're now going to have bigger bases. Have you seen the new bases?
No, I haven't. I heard this.
So they were 15 by 15, something like that. And now they're 18 by 18, and they look like a Papa John's large pizza.
Why?
They are huge. It is meant to be a safety thing. Now, are we going to implement that in high school, college, slow pitch softball, fast pitch softball? Because these bases are huge.
How's it going to be anything for safety?
Slides into second and third. You have more space. You're not going to have the double play. You should have more room for a player to get to the bag and still be able to play the bag on double play turns. There's less likelihood of an ankle getting stepped on running to first. I don't know if they made home plate bigger, though. I think they just made the three bases larger, which is confusing.
So
yeah, and we're talking 3 inches on either side. Like, it is
that's massive. That's massive.
When you look at it, you're like, wow, that base used to be that small?
Are they going to do that for softball?
Right? I mean, we do an orange safety bag. You might as well give us a bigger base, too. And so that's going to be one. We implement the shift. The no shift, let me phrase that. No longer a shift.
I mean, honestly, I'm good with that. I know it's...
I see both sides of it.
It's a part of the game, but at the same time, because batters need to learn to hit other places in just one spot.
The pure of playing baseball and being around baseball my whole life says, figure it out. Figure out how to adjust. If you don't want them to all be on the right side of the field as a lefty, bro, learn to bunt. Because you are safe every time. If Joey Gallo ever learned to bunt in a Ranger uniform, his on base would have been 900. Because everyone and their mom would go stand over here, and he just had to tap one down. He's 6'4" and runs like a gazelle. He's there. Geez. And so... I do think that you're going to see guys like Gallo who, now he still doesn't put the ball in play enough, but guys like that, there are Cody Bellingers, your big, strong lefties that get those heavy shifts that we're going to see batting averages are going to tick up. I mean, we're in a point now where baseball guys have maybe 9 guys bat 300 all year. Averages are down across the board. The ball isn't getting put in play as much. We're seeing...
So that's what's going on, is they're just trying to make it exciting again.
Their goal is to do what they can to bring back fanfare, because the game of baseball is catered to an older audience.
Well, let people...
Or people that play it.
Let these dudes take steroids again.
I mean...
that's what brought people back to the game in the first place.
The 98 home run race did bring people back. After the strike and everything else, you get everyone back because of steroids, because of the Bond Sosa race. Most people say that there's never been a sporting event covered like the 98 home run race. Like that.
You knew.
The McGuire picture when he hit the home run to break it with all those flashes going on. I mean, obviously, I hate the Cardinals. And it was even better because you have a divisional race going on between the Cubs and Cardinals, two huge rivals, while all this is going on. And so, I don't know that I want to let them do steroids, because I think now science is advanced enough that these boys can hit the ball. Yeah. But you are opening it up. I think there's another dying art that Billy Beane ruined the stolen base by bringing in his Moneyball approach. If you ever seen the movie Moneyball, there's a lot of factual inaccuracies in there and things left out, like how great that A's pitching staff was. But they say in there, like, you don't steal the base. I pay you to get on first, not get thrown out at second. Well, one of the new rules is the pitch timing. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you're a guy that runs the bases with blazing speed, and you know that the pitcher, when there's runners on base, has 20 seconds to pitch, man, when that thing turns to 19 and a half, your boy's going. That's what they said in the minor leagues. They implemented all these rules in the minors, and they said that the games are finishing 45 minutes faster, which that's one of the complaints for the fans is the games take 4 hours.
baseball.
There's more action because balls are getting put in play because there's not shifts. There's not a guy playing shallow right field getting ground balls, and there are more stolen bases. And I love stolen bases. I miss the because one of the most fun plays is that bang bang catcher pop.
Like with this, are we finally going to see someone in the future get close to Ricky Henderson?
Never.
Like I'm not saying breaking it, but like at least get close.
To get close to Ricky, you have to steal. I want to say you have to get in the bigs at 20, and you have to steal 100 bags a year for like
20 years.
20 years. And then, even then, you're going to still be like a few hundred short. Like, what Ricky's steal number, there's records that'll never get broken, and Ricky's steal number's one. Cal Ripken's Iron Man streak, that's never going to happen. Except for Malik Bridges in basketball, but that's a different sport. But or Mikal Bridges, sorry. There's baseball has some records that at this point I don't think we ever see get touched. I think longevity is part of that problem.
One that's not a longevity thing that I don't think ever get broken is DiMaggio's record of hits.
I don't think so either.
Games in a row.
I think I don't.
I think the closest has been maybe 20 games away.
I would say I think we've had 2 or 3 people crack the 40s, and that's it's just not. But at the same time, with how pitchers pitch now and the movement and everything that's different about the game, I'm not saying DiMaggio does DiMaggio's record
right.
now.
That is true. That is true.
It's an impressive feat. I think it's just as impressive if you can get on base 56 games in a row. That means counting a walk because these dudes throw it now. I mean, the ball spins, different.
And then Nolan Ryan's records are probably never going to get touched.
No, because guys don't throw the innings like that.
They don't throw it. They don't last as long. They don't play as long. So they're just, and he played 27 years. So
the emphasis on player safety and how we treat our bodies with science and things now have made so many records across a multitude of sports
that are just
next to untouchable.
Yeah.
Because guys aren't going to do that kind of stuff again. Football records will get broken because the game keeps going. When you get safer in football, you're doing less. So that means that you're opening up more options. We're going to see records break.
Offensive records will get broken.
Defensive ones maybe not.
Running back records won't, just because it has transitioned away from running the ball. But passing records are going to, like, in 15 years, like we're doing now when we look at players that are in the Hall of Fame, we're like, he had a 50% completion percentage.
Yeah, we look back now
Why
and we're
is he in the Hall of Fame?
Troy Aikman's numbers aren't that good.
If the quarterback had a 50% completion percentage now, they would not be the starting quarterback.
Derek Carr's percentage last season was a career low at 61%, and we're ending his career by some modes. And there's guys in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So, no.
So, there are things that have changed, especially with that. Like, the one that, because of how offenses are played now and how it's tough to play defense, because now if you sack the quarterback, you could also potentially get a rough in the passer. Like, you can't just sack them no more. Yeah. So, I don't think Reggie White's record, even though Bruce Smith has the record, Reggie White's record of career sacks is going to get broken.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of them just
I think
because...
we'll see a single season sack record fall, but I don't think we'll see it total.
Isn't that Strahan? Doesn't Strahan have a single season?
22 and a half, something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
So, and we've come close. We've seen guys get close.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if you see
T.J. Watt has gotten very close.
I wouldn't be shocked if Michael Parsons breaks for the next 2 years. Because of how often he gets to the quarterback.
That is true.
I would not be shocked that at some point having 80 pressures is going to lead to 25 sacks. Like,
eventually.
If the math doesn't add up, you don't hit that guy eventually. And so there's records there that we definitely don't see fall. But these changes will help certain things, but they're not going to help stuff like that.
They'll just make it.
Then on the topics of records, you get into guys like Aaron Judge stays in New York. He's going to be the next captain. He's the first captain since Derek Jeter played. And so that's going to be, see how he does. They've already started working him at first base because they gave a lot of money to a 32-year-old outfielder. So that's 6'7" and battled injuries. Last season was like booming numbers, yeah. And he's been good, but he hasn't been what he was last season. So you need to teach him to play a more body-safe position if he's going to be 8 years run of what that contract was. Carlos Correa's situation this offseason, that man had not one, but 2 $300 million contracts, only to end up back with the Twins at $200 million. And the funny part is neither one of the $300 million contracts fell apart for the same reason. The Mets deal fell apart because of a back injury or the Giants deal. The Giants deal fell apart because of a knee injury that happened his first year in rookie ball while he was with the Astros. Yeah. Side effects lingering of some knee injury. They don't think it would make it the length of the contract.
They just didn't want it.
They decided they didn't want to give him all that money. Then you get to the Mets and super fan owner and Steve Cohen. That dude is he's about to break free agency. We're gonna hate that guy more than we ever hated George Steinbrenner. He's just like, you want to be a shiny toy on my play box? So that guy's going to be interesting. But that one ends up breaking because of language in the contract of how the bonuses were going to be paid or something. So then he turns around and goes, you know what? The Twins loved me. I'll just go back there for shorter money. Takes less years, less money, walks up with the Twins. He's a great player. He's going to end up transitioning to third base in a couple of years. But, I mean,
it's crazy.
As long as he can hit. He's a world champion. He is. He's going to help an organization like the Twins who don't get big fish. He's going to be good. The Rangers, they went in on pitching. They said, we've got a young lineup with Seager, and you've got Seager, Young, Simeon, Garcia, Tavares. I mean, loaded with young guys. The Rangers are going to be a team to watch offensively. Yeah. Then they said, Penny, Perez, Evaldi, and then Jacob deGrom. And Jacob deGrom goes out today and does Jacob deGrom things. And how does Price go today? His throwing program.
It didn't go very well.
I don't think it went. Because, once again, Jacob deGrom,
they
Mets fans are super vindicated by this right now.
Oh, I've already heard it from one.
Yeah. Jacob deGrom comes out to the first week of spring training and they say his back's sore. Which, that's a different injury than he was coming in as a guy anyway. DeGrom is arguably one of the best pitchers in baseball. There's not a debate to that. He is a freaking stud when he's on the mound.
Yeah.
He pitched 33 games over the last 3 seasons.
He was one of the better pitchers.
But the thing is, last season in his 13 starts, he still had a 2.10 ERA. When he plays, the dude's got it. The problem is, this thing right here hasn't held.
It's
if you wanted the Rangers to spend money, they did it.
I mean, they did, and
but did they spend it back?
You went for kind of a broken guy that had a history of being great.
If he's healthy,
you were hoping that he would go back to that.
Exactly.
I mean, it's tough. It's tough to want to skip all that stuff in between and go, but look at that. And then you're like,
you're hoping.
Look at that.
You're hoping that they got him. What the fan needs to do is hope that they got him, and he ends up being Verlander and Scherzer, because Verlander and Scherzer are doing like Nolan Ryan kind of age things where they're getting older and they're just like, I'm just pumping gas.
Yeah.
And that's what you're hoping. You're hoping that he can. There is a slump in the middle, and he bounces back, and he's a stud for the next 4 years. But I understand. Usually, when you give these guys big deals. You're paying them for the front half of the contract, not the back half. And we're not even at the start of the front half of the contract, and we're already saying, is he available? If you pay DeGrom $30-something million a year and he can't give you $1 million a start on average, that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
You're hoping to get 25 starts out of him this year. An average starting pitcher, you want 32 starts out of him. You want 25 starts out of DeGrom. And you're now a legitimate playoff team. Like, you are a team that should be competing for a playoff. The Astros are probably still better than you in your own division. The Mariners are still a good team. But your team is built because of your young lineup. That farm system, the Rangers are stacked in the farm system.
Yeah, they have a very good farm system.
I mean, they're loaded. And, like, guys got all excited about drafting Kumar Rocker, but he wasn't even the best pitcher that they drafted in this draft.
Like, what was it? I think they have 5 or 6
in the top 100. Yeah, you got Leiter, Brock Porter, guys like that. You have Ronald Acuna's little brother. He's sitting in your farm system. So you've got pieces that if come trade deadline mid-season, if you're one of those contending teams, you're a team to watch for a trade deadline as a buyer possibly. Like, there's going to be some moves at the local team gets to make, and they're going to be fun to watch. It's just going to come down to health because you've got to have a guy like that on the mound. So.
Oh, and apparently Strasburg had a setback also.
I can't remember the last time that Steven Strasburg pitched. He's another guy that he was so good, and I mean they got a World Series and they've paid him now, but there's gonna be, I mean the Classic's gonna be a fun time to get to see competitive baseball again though. I think we see games starting there March the 7th is the first game. Some of those teams we're gonna see. That Dominican team is stacked.
So he has operation to correct thoracic outlet syndrome.
Huh, that doesn't sound like a thing.
So yeah, he this is his comeback from 2001. So
he hasn't pitched in, this would be 3 years almost.
Yeah,
now?
he's 34 years old.
Yeah,
that blows my mind that he's 34 years old.
He was number 1 pick out of high school, right?
Man,
17, 18. Him and Harper where they were going to be the Nationals, and then both are not. Or well, one's still a National, but he's not pitching.
So 2019 was the last time he had more than 5 starts. So
and then you're
2020 is when he basically.
So it's going to be and then you get. It's going to be fun. There's a lot of guys this season that are going to be fun to watch. Can Shohei be what Shohei keeps doing? Because as great as Judge was, Shohei's becoming like the LeBron of baseball, where he might be the most valuable player every year.
Yeah.
And then Mike Trout's already saying, like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to keep this guy in an Angels uniform because Trout's not going anywhere.
No.
Baby goat there. That's another one that he's just like DeGrom. If he's on the field, he's far and away one of the 3 to 5 best players you're going to get.
Yeah, at some point, man, like these guys that are just so good as your batters, like you have to start transitioning them into.
I think they waited too long.
Like first base or even designated hitter. Like I mean, that's what obviously Frank Thomas wasn't outfield; he was a first baseman. But you know, most of those guys, that's what they tried to do. They were like, all right, look, we just need to transition you into just hitting for us.
As soon as you knew how good of a hitter and a good of a player you had in Trout should have already been on a regime where he maybe only played the outfield 110 games of the season, not 150.
Yeah.
If you'd put him in 110 games and dialed him back to 60 the rest of the season, you don't have to give him a day off. Just make him the DH those games. That's a half day off.
Yep.
And let him be in the lineup. That's going to help his body going forward. The Dodgers are already making these moves. They've already started working Mookie Betts at second base. And
That's
Mookie
smart.
Betts has a cannon for an arm. He's a 5-star Gold Glove outfielder. But he's played the infield. Mookie Betts is a freak athlete. If you've ever seen Mookie Betts, that dude's a 300 bowler who just competed in a professional bowling competition. He runs routes like Odell Beckham. I mean, he is a nasty football route runner. The guy's a freak athletically. But the Dodgers said, we invested $330 million in you. We need you to be on the team for the long time. You're a big part of our organization. We're going to teach you to play second base. And he said, let's do it. And he's only... He's 30 now? Like he's 31 maybe? Like he's not an older guy. He's in the prime ages of his career.
So they're moving him infield to second base. And then in 3 years, they're probably going to push him over to third base.
Nah, too skinny. Second base, you can play second base for a long time. I mean, look at Chase Utley. So? Chase Utley played second base until he was 35, 36? Dustin Pedroia. I mean, guys like that, he doesn't... Don't get me wrong, Mookie has the arm strength to play third, but your third baseman is generally your stocky, power, Austin Riley kind of guy.
I just had it in my head just of the way that Michael Young moved just whenever he started his age.
I think his was a lot of because of being a true infielder.
Let's move here to second, and then they're like, all right, hey, look, we've got these guys, and we need you to play. We need you to play here now. So.
Probably my favorite Texas Ranger of all time.
Well, you know, I love Michael Young, but Rusty Greer is always going to be my favorite Texas Ranger.
I watched Michael Young's the days I started falling in love with baseball. Michael Young was starting his, and so it was falling in. I mean, he's not Chipper. Chipper will always be my favorite guy to ever wear a jersey. He's the reason I wear the number 10, which is on the back of that bad boy right there. But you know, is Rusty your favorite of all any player ever, or just a Ranger?
Just Ranger. King Griffey Jr. is my favorite baseball player.
Favorite player of all time, yeah. Hard to argue the kid.
Yeah, I had, as a Texas Rangers fan growing up, I had a Seattle Mariners birthday cake of King Griffey Jr. Like that's how much I like King Griffey Jr. Like King Griffey Jr. was he was just when I started watching baseball, like that's who it was.
He was that introduction to this wave of make baseball fun.
Yeah, he was.
He started that.
He was the backwards hat dude.
He started that thing that like Bryce Harper when he was with the Nationals. I was never a Bryce Harper fan. As Bryce Harper's now been with the Phillies, and as what we expect Bryce Harper to be has come more realistic, because Bryce Harper was always put on this pedestal that he was Mike Trout. Let's be real. Yeah. He was never as good as Mike Trout. Now, he had a couple of good seasons, but he was never as good as Mike Trout. And as he's been in Philadelphia, and as even near the end of his time, like when he was doing home run derbies, and he's one of those guys that's like, we're going to have fun. We're going to play baseball the fun way. Like, I have my old school views to baseball, like that I don't like change, like the shifts and the things like that I'm gonna, I hate Rob Manfred. I'm gonna do that, whatever. But I can't say that I don't like a guy like him who gets in a home run derby, turns his hat around, and he's taking 25 daddy hacks with his painted bat and flinging it to the sky. Like, those guys do make fun, and we do need, as many of these kids that play baseball now, I mean, because youth athletics is where the money is. Like, youth sports is a pouring of money. Softball, baseball, all that.
Oh, yeah.
They're not watching it. These kids, if you went and picked 10 kids out of a lineup, I bet you 8 of them couldn't name 7 players. Like, they don't watch.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, I know tons of people that'll say, I just like to play it. Their kids are like
I mean,
that.
my brother is that way. Like, he didn't really know a lot of the players until I got him into fantasy football. Yeah. Like, you could put him on the field and he would be one of the best players on your team at any sport.
Great athlete.
But he knew the big names and he knew the home team players. Other than that, he had no clue who a lot of the other people were.
Yeah, exactly. I
got him into fantasy football, and all of a sudden, like, now he knows a bunch of people.
Fantasy sports.
So, like, I know what that's like to have someone that never really just...
Yeah, it's
like,
crazy.
I'm kind of that way now with baseball. Like, I know my players, and I know some of the bigger names, but I've fallen out of baseball a little bit, so I haven't paid as much attention to other people around the league anymore.
Now you host a sports talk show, and you're gonna have to be like,
I know, I'm gonna have to pay attention to that.
We're gonna have to randomly talk about the war of that's batting ninth on the Giants.
I'm gonna have to talk about LeBron James and how he got booed at the Super Bowl.
He did get booed at the Super Bowl. Poor guy.
I booed him too.
All right,
but that got booed too.
I mean, if the shoe's on the other foot, and say Jason Kelsey's getting the Man of the Year award, and the Cowboys are playing the Super Bowl, don't tell me the Cowboys fans aren't booing him.
I mean,
they're booing him.
They probably wouldn't.
Yes, they would. It's your rival.
The Philadelphia Eagles fan base is a little bit different, though.
That's fine, but I'm just gonna say they're booing.
I think there will be boos, but I think you'll hear more respect than you will hear boos. Because, I mean, it's the Man of the Year award.
You might hear boo, yay,
but
you're gonna hear boo.
Year award.
It doesn't matter.
And the entire crowd just started booing.
But, all right, well, we're about an hour and a half in. I think we've hit on a bunch of things. We've got fun times ahead. Thanks again, everyone, for watching and listening and all the different platforms. We made it up to 52 subscribers, so we got over that 50 mark.
Man, that took a little bit on that last one.
Those last couple hit in the last day. So we're going to have to push it, try to 75. Our goal is still 100 by the end of the month. We'll set a goal. We hit it, we don't.
It's the 15th. We still got some time.
Exactly. We've got 2 weeks till that deadline hits, and we're sharing them on our pages and all that. We're glad to have people are engaging. We started a Facebook page this week. I've been sharing updates. We put posts, breaking news things. So if you want to follow our page group, if big things happen, I was blowing it up on trade deadline day.
Man, you were.
I was working a full shift and trying to do all that. My goodness, what a struggle. But, well, thanks again, everybody, and we'll see y'all next week.
Yeah, like, follow, and subscribe to us, please.
Yes, like, follow, and subscribe. Hope that worked.
Hopefully your phone didn't die.
Right?